Welcome along to Strength Month. I am chatting with Andrea Marsh. Andrea, first up, tell us what you do. Tell us all about yourself.
Hi, I'm Andrea Marsh and Chinese medicine practitioner, and I help women alleviate their symptoms holistically and naturally.
Awesome. So, this month we're talking about strength, and I know the obvious route to go down would be lifting weights and stuff like that, but sort of mental strength is such a biggie, isn't it?
It's huge because there is so much in the mental resilience area. But I thought I would take a slightly different path today, as I do with my slightly different Chinese head, because actually, what I'm about to talk about today, is what probably was detrimental to me in creating and making my perimenopausal symptoms worse. And I suspect for you as well.
Go on then.
Because I'm sure when you were training for your Ironman stuff, you had quite a mentally strong attitude of, I'm going to achieve this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the head being strong. And that's being strong willed and being blinkered, and I'm going to achieve this. But if that comes at the expense of listening to your body,
Yep.
and I was the same for years. I can handle stress. And I see this with my clients. Whenever they go, but I can handle stress. Oh, my stress is no different to anybody else's. And I go, yes, you're mentally handling stress because, those women, the ones that you always go to, the ones that you can rely on, your rocks, all those women that are holding like every member of the family up, because actually they are mentally stronger than they realize.
Yeah.
What effect is that having on the body, and do we appreciate that? And that's my missing link. I'm pretty sure that was your missing link. And what
100%.
we've got to get across is that even though your head is mentally strong, if you're not listening to your body, physical stress is building up in the body. And I think we all think of stress as a maybe a mental state of mind, when actually physical stress is the symptoms in your body. Your perimenopausal symptoms are the outward expressions of your body buckling under physical stress. That's the angle I thought I would take today.
And absolutely, I'm just sort of nodding a lot because so many of us have had to be mentally strong for such a long time because we're holding everything together, as you say, and you want to be the good friend to your friends, and you want to be, those who've got kids, they want to be a good parent, and this, that, and the other. And yeah, we live in a world where it's not encouraged to listen to what your body's actually telling you.
No, and if you think back, I know you're a few years younger than me, but our schooling was about women having careers. We were, the earliest generations ago, right? Women equals, you can become scientists, you can become engineers. But when you then got into the workplace to get up to any other levels through the company, you you had to you couldn't show any sign of mental weakness, because you just, you get slang terms chucked at you. You had to work longer and harder and prove yourself more. So all of that is a mental resilience and mental strength. And I had that to an absolute T, to the point that men were dropping around me with ailments and illnesses. And I was like, they're so weak, we just got to get on, we just got to achieve, and I made sure we achieved, and people weren't allowed to sleep. It was just like, go, go, go. We got to hit this deadline. Not realizing that when it hit me, like a ton of bricks, then you start falling apart mentally and physically. I think one of the very, very earliest signs on reflection, I can reflect now, was the just wanting to, when your eyes just start leaking and you think, my God, I'm in a boardroom. Why do I want to cry? And you're clenching your buttocks, going, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And you can feel your face going puce. And your eyes are welling up, and people are looking at you and going, what's her problem? And it was so unlike me, because I was never like that in the boardroom. So I actually think that was probably the one of the first signs of it all.
And I'm going to suggest, you can agree or disagree here, that we are of a generation that have, yes, we've been told we can have it all and we should have it all and we must want it all and blah, blah, blah. But that has all been that we should fit into a male world.
Yeah,
Not that you can have it all, but here is how to use your feminine energy to have it.
I totally, 100%. I mean, to the point that when I was first in the company that I grew to consultant level, and I was there for 14 years, I was continually told by my boss, all my statements were a question. Oh, you've got the Australian intonation when you go up at the end, because that was my insecurity. So what did I do? I went and had voice training so that I spoke in a more commanding, the Maggie Thatcher way, where you speak down at the end of the sentence. Because Maggie Thatcher had that training, so that Maggie Thatcher didn't sound like a woman. Whatever you think about Maggie Parkett, we're just talking about, this is a woman who ran the country, and she
And
didn't
had to
run
be
a
male.
country speaking like Joanna Lumley, did she? She ran a
No,
country speaking like a man.
absolutely, 100%. And I'm about to get onto one of my soapbox topics, and I'm trying really hard not to, because this is an interview for you, not for
She's
me to get angry.
climbing.
But I feel that our strength, as we, and I'm going to bring it back to strength, go me. I feel that our strength as we go through perimenopause, and it forces us to honor our feminine energy and the fact that that cycles, and the fact that that is not the same every day. I feel that there is such an inherent strength in that. And yes, unfortunately, we still live in a world where that's parts of that is viewed as weakness. But I think there's so much to be said for owning that and going, do you know what? No, this week is a lower energy week, and that's okay. And I give myself permission to have a lower energy week.
Yeah.
And I don't need to show up like a man every day, because I'm not a man. And I'm every bit as important in the world. I'm every bit as worthy of taking up space, of existing, of having a voice, of all of these things on my terms, not on society's terms.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this is why I'm sure everybody's heard of yin and yang in Chinese medicine. Um, and I do like yin and yang as opposed to the masculine and the feminine, though they can be, but they are an interplay. And this is why I like them. It's a balance. So yang is more masculine than yin, but that doesn't mean yang is masculine. It's just more so than yin, which is more feminine. And if you start thinking about things in terms of less black and white and more about balance, and it's okay. I had an on it week last week. My brain was firing till 10 p.m. every evening. This week, I am barely awake at 7 p.m. I just wanted soup and bed at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. And it's for the mental resilience and strength for certain times of the month. And this is where we come back to cycles again.
Yeah.
You've also got to be kinder to yourself on the cycles of the month, because I'm not currently having periods, so I could be menopausal, but this would definitely be a period week if I was having periods.
And yes, that's interesting that you put it to yin and yang, and that's what I was really meaning by feminine and masculine energy. I'm not meaning it as in men versus women at all, because it isn't that.
Yeah,
it's much more about, the more feminine, therefore the more yin way of going through life is much more in tune with your body. It's much more about acknowledging what your body needs right now and working with that, as opposed to the more masculine energy, which is much more showing up the same every day because that's what the expectation is. So it's not actually about men or women at all. It just happens to be that linguistically it sounds like
no. But and I know you get it, but there will be women out there.
But I think the strength comes from
yin,
understanding where on that scale you are and what therefore your body needs to honor it. You might be in a female body, but actually your energy and your way of working is pretty masculine. Cool. If that works for you, do it. But then, with you as a case in point, you did that for a long time and actually ultimately it didn't work for you.
Yeah.
But for some people it does. And equally there are lots of men for whom having a much more feminine energy and going with their sort of mental and physical state each day works much better for them. And imagine, I know, right? that strength comes from each of us acknowledging that we're individuals.
Gosh, wow. Yes. That's well
Crazy.
put. That is well put. And the funny thing is, I get the feeling at the moment it's almost becoming more acceptable for men to get more, in touch with their yin, their feminism, and those kind of emotions, but it's still not gone the other way that women can. Especially in workplaces. I was in a well-known engineering firm a couple of months ago, and it was just the most demoralizing menopause talk that I've done, because the women were so downtrodden. It was just, if I could come out with a color, it was gray.
Wow.
um and I couldn't pick them up. I couldn't motivate them. I couldn't get them to, because I always say at the end of my talks, one takeaway, bish bash bosh round the room, and people go, oh, nutrition, stress, sleep, and it's quite zingy, and I couldn't even really get that out of them. And I was just like, gosh, sometimes it's good to come back into these environments to appreciate how far and how different definitely my life is, and I suspect to a degree your life is, from actually the women we're trying to help.
Yeah. And that's, oh, God, that's a whole societal construct that we need to break down. And there's a lot more strength in that as well. We
Yeah,
could go on for months here.
we could. There was one lady, got to do a shout out to this lady. When she finished her day's work, she then went and looked after whichever grandchild was the rota that night between her various sons and daughters. So it meant she didn't get to eat properly. Caffeine was fueling her days. And this is where, if we're just to tie it back into, this is where her mental strength is keeping her going. But quite physically, I don't know where the energy is coming from, because she's got to be in deficit now. If his bank account, she's in overdraft. And this kind of was where I was with my career, is mentally you kept going. I kept going for my career and the projects and my clients. She's keeping going for her family, because she's like, without me, they can't, they can't exist. But at some point, you have to pay back your overdraft.
So, just quickly before we wrap this up, from the kind of natural solutions, Chinese medicine aspect of things, how can we very simply top up that bank balance?
Very simply, I would
Very
say,
simply, because I know otherwise we've got another hour's worth of conversation.
I think very simply, to keep you going right now, I think you know what I'm going to say: vitamins and minerals, because they are petrol in the tank.
Yeah.
Long term, it's a reassessment of however mentally strong you are, and let's face it, most women are. It really is a reassessment of how you're living your life, and if you don't go there, your body will.
Yeah, and I guess by addressing the vitamins and minerals, you're staving off that moment rather than actually resolving it. But at least it means that the body can keep up with the mental strength for a little bit longer.
Yeah, and you if you were doing enough of the right nutrition, because it's food in there as well. If you were doing it enough, you would actually be reducing the overdraft.
Okay, so if people want to know more about that, about how they can sort of top up, redress the balance of the stress overdraft,
Yeah,
people can work with you from
yeah,
anywhere.
well, absolutely. So you can come to cotswoldmenopause.co.uk. I do have a new 2-hour menopause masterclass in my solutions section. So what that does is it introduces you to this concept and more. And it's a great, so for the price of going, watching a movie on a well-known subscription channel, you can actually get kind of the meat of this information and what to do about it, and have an action plan. And then thereafter, you can choose to have a go yourself, contact me. But the masterclass really is the first stepping stone into what the hell is going on, what is she talking about, and what am I going to do about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Oh, always a pleasure.